There's a town in Florida where the post office had a special counter built for dwarfs. The zoning laws allowed residents to keep elephants on their front lawns, and a man known as Lobster Boy was murdered by a hired hitman paid $1,500. And that is not even close to the weirdest one on this list. A city of 13 people governed by a mermaid turned mayor. A place where every resident claims they can talk to the dead. And a town named after a breakfast order. These are 8 Florida towns so bizarre you will swear they cannot be real. And trust me, you are not ready for number 1. Let us start with a town whose name sounds like someone fell asleep on the keyboard.
2 Egg, Florida.
Yes, that is its real name.
2 Egg
is a tiny unincorporated community in Jackson County, about 70 miles northwest of Tallahassee. There is no official population count, no traffic light, no gas station. The only notable structure was a general store called the Lawrence Grocery, which has since collapsed into a pile of rotting wood. During the Great Depression, children would walk to that store and trade 2 eggs for candy or tobacco. Traveling salesmen noticed the practice and started calling the place 2 Egg Town. The town part got dropped, but the name stuck permanently on road signs, on maps, on postal records. Here is the kicker. Oscar-winning actress Faye Dunaway grew up here. One of Hollywood's biggest stars spent her childhood in a place named after a Depression-era bartering system for poultry products. Imagine telling your agent your hometown is called 2 Egg. 2 Egg proves something interesting. Sometimes the smallest places leave the biggest mark, even if that mark is mostly confusion on a road sign. But if you think a town named after eggs is strange, the next one has a building that might be the most absurd federal facility in the country. Ochopee, Florida sits on the edge of the Everglades along the Tamiami Trail, population around 11, and it is home to the smallest post office in the United States, 61.3 square feet, 7 feet wide, 8 feet 4 inches deep. It used to be a shed that stored irrigation pipes for a tomato farm. In 1953, a fire destroyed the original post office, and the postmaster looked at this pipe shed and said, "This will work temporarily." That was over 70 years ago. One clerk works inside at a time. There is no bathroom. The nearest restroom is 3 miles away. Despite its size, this post office services over 900 people across a 3-county area, including deliveries to Seminole and Miccosukee communities deep in the Everglades. Tourists from all over the world stop by for the coveted Ochopee postmark. It is probably the only federal building in America where the employee might bolt out the door because a snake just slithered across her feet. Ochopee proves that sometimes the most important things come in the most absurd packages, or in this case, a package the size of a walk-in closet. Now, let us head north to a town with the single greatest festival name in the history of organized events. Sopchoppy, Florida, population around 500, located in Wachee County at the edge of the Apalachicola National Forest. But nobody comes here for the scenery, they come for the worms. Sopchoppy is the self-proclaimed worm gruntain capital of the world. You take a wooden stake called a stob, drive it into the ground, then rub a flat piece of iron across the top. The vibration sends a grunting sound through the soil. The worms think it is a mole, one of their natural predators, so they panic and wriggle to the surface. Then you collect them for fishing bait. A woman named Lossie Mae Rosier started the practice around 1950 and used the money from selling worms to raise her 11 children. Eventually, the worms got their own festival. The Sopchoppy Worm Gruntain Festival runs on the second Saturday in April each year. Thousands show up for demonstrations, grunting contests, festival food, and the Worm Grunters Ball. That last part is not a joke. There is a formal dance for worm enthusiasts. Hey, where are you from? Sopchoppy. What is it known for? Competitive worm summoning. That is a conversation that ends friendships or starts the best ones. Sopchoppy proves something fascinating. Sometimes the weirdest traditions are not invented. They are just uncovered, one worm at a time. If you are enjoying this video, hit like, mostly so the algorithm stops recommending videos about alligator attacks and Florida man headlines. And subscribe, because knowing about these towns might save you from accidentally moving somewhere boring. Now let us go to a town hiding an outdoor art museum in plain sight. Lake Placid, Florida. Not the one from the Winter Olympics. This is a small agricultural town in Highlands County. Population around 12,000. Median home price around $170,000. On paper, completely ordinary. Then you notice the walls. Over 47 massive murals cover buildings throughout town. The Lake Placid Mural Society was founded in 1992, and the town has transformed itself into an internationally recognized outdoor gallery. Some murals have sound. Most contain hidden objects. There are also 17 painted trash containers, 45 bird plaques, and over 27 clown cutouts. Lake Placid is also home to the American Clown Museum and School. Reader's Digest once named it America's most interesting town, largely because of the murals and the clown infrastructure. You could drive through on Highway 27 and never stop. But if you walked the streets, you would realize you had been inside a massive art installation without knowing it. Lake Placid proves that the most interesting places do not announce themselves. They just quietly paint their story on every available surface and wait for you to look. Head about an hour east, because there is a hill in Florida that appears to break the laws of physics. Spook Hill in Lake Wales. Population around 16,000. Median home price around $220,000. A quiet, central Florida town, except for one spot on North Avenue where your car appears to roll uphill. You drive to the bottom, put your car in neutral, and your vehicle slowly, impossibly rolls backward up the slope. Scientists say it is an optical illusion created by the surrounding landscape, making a slight downhill look like an uphill. The local legend says a Seminole chief fought a giant alligator here, and both died. The chief's spirit supposedly pushes things away from his burial ground. The city put up a sign explaining the legend. It is free. It takes 5 minutes. It has been one of Florida's most visited roadside attractions for over 70 years. Nobody cares about the scientific explanation, because watching your car roll uphill is genuinely unsettling, no matter how many times you hear the rational answer. Spook Hill proves something Florida does better than any other state. Sometimes the most powerful attraction is the simplest one. No rides, no tickets, just a hill that makes your brain short-circuit. And now, the top 3. The strangeness escalates significantly. Number 3. Weeki, Wachee, Florida. Or more accurately, what used to be Weeki, Wachee, Florida, because as of 2020, the town no longer officially exists. At its peak, Weeki, Wachee had a population of 13. The entire voting age population was 2 people, both female. The town was governed by its general manager, who doubled as a mermaid. The town was incorporated in 1966, for one reason only. Putting it on the official map meant it would appear on road signs, drawing tourists to Weeki, Wachee Springs and its famous underwater mermaid shows. The entire town was a marketing strategy that became a legal municipality. The springs opened in 1947, built by a former Navy frogman named Newton Perry. He carved an underwater theater into the side of one of the deepest natural springs in the country, 407 feet deep, pumping 170 million gallons of fresh water daily. Then he hired young women taught them to breathe through air hoses while performing synchronized underwater routines, and called them mermaids. Elvis came. Don Knotts came. At its peak, the park drew 500,000 visitors a year, but by the 2000s, the tiny city had racked up over $1 million in legal bills. In 2020, the governor dissolved it entirely, a town created as an advertisement, run by a mermaid, dissolved by a governor. With a population you could fit in a minivan. Weeki Wachee proves that in Florida, even the towns can be performances, spectacles that dazzle for decades and then vanish when the curtain falls. Number 2, Cassadaga, Florida, the psychic capital of the world. Fewer than 100 residents, 57 acres, listed on the National Register of Historic Places, located 50 miles northeast of Orlando, and virtually every resident claims the ability to communicate with the dead. In the 1870s, a trance medium named George Colby attended a seance where his spirit guide Seneca showed him a vision of land in the south. In 1875, Colby found wilderness in central Florida matching that vision. He homesteaded 100 acres. A spring on his property reportedly cured his tuberculosis. In 1894, the Southern Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp received its charter. Today, the camp features over 65 historic buildings. Certified mediums offer readings. Healers offer sessions. The bookstore sells crystals and books on mediumship. Becoming a certified medium requires 4 to 6 years of study. Sunday services run at the Colby Memorial Temple. The camp's unofficial tagline is, "Where Mayberry meets the Twilight Zone." The Devil's Chair in the nearby cemetery supposedly empties any beer left on it overnight. Paranormal investigators have been visiting for decades. CNN, the BBC, and dozens of publications have profiled the town, and the residents are remarkably welcoming to skeptics. You can drive from Orlando's theme parks to a town of practicing mediums in under an hour. That transition might be the most Florida thing that has ever existed. Cassadaga proves that the strangest places are often the most sincere. This town was not built to entertain you. It was built because one man followed a vision into the swamp and decided the dead had something to say. And finally, number 1, the town I promised you were not ready for, Gibsonton, Florida, known locally as Gibtown, the place where sideshow performers went to live, 12 miles south of Tampa, population roughly 14,000. On paper, another suburban community, but starting in the 1940s, Gibsonton became the winter home for virtually every major sideshow performer in America. Al the Giant Tomaini, 8 feet 4 inches tall, married Jeannie the Half-Woman, 2.5 feet tall with no legs. They opened a restaurant together. Priscilla the Monkey Girl, born with a condition that covered her body and hair and gave her 2 sets of teeth, fell in love with Emmett the alligator-skinned man. They met at a carnival and moved here together. The conjoined Hilton sisters ran a fruit stand. An 8-foot-tall man served as fire chief. A dwarf served as police chief. And then there was Grady Stiles, known as Lobster Boy, born with ectrodactyly, a condition that fused his fingers into claw-like formations. In 1978, he shot his daughter's fiancé the night before their wedding. He was convicted but avoided prison because no facility could accommodate his disability. He got probation. 15 years later, his own wife and stepson hired a 19-year-old sideshow performer to kill him. The price was $1,500. The reason everyone ended up here was zoning. Gibsonton passed special laws allowing residents to keep elephants, monkeys, and lions on their front lawns, carnival trailers in driveways. The post office built a lowered counter for little people, the only one in the country. The town was engineered for the unusual. Today, the sideshow era has faded. But Gibsonton still hosts the largest carnival trade show in the industry. The International Independent Showman's Museum houses vintage costumes, old ride cars, and one of the first Ferris wheels in America. A retirement village for aging performers sits nearby, looking, somewhat ironically, like an empty fairground. Gibsonton was never trying to be strange. It was trying to be home, a place where the bearded lady could buy groceries without stairs, where a giant and a half woman could run a business together, where the only thing unusual about being unusual was that nobody treated it as unusual at all. Gibsonton proves the most powerful thing a place can do. Sometimes the weirdest town in America is also the kindest. A place that said you are welcome here no matter what. And for decades, that was enough. If you enjoyed this list, hit like, mostly so the algorithm knows people still appreciate strange geography over staged pranks. And subscribe because learning about weird towns is a surprisingly effective way to avoid moving somewhere boring. Consider it a public service.